I never imagined a simple mistake could lead to a soul-stirring, life-changing moment. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. One slip of the finger. That's how it started. My heart raced as I stared at the screen, the pulsing lights amplifying my growing dread. They said pressing that button would involve me in something bigger than I could handle. But I was curious. I wanted to know. I'm Sophie, a regular girl caught in the web of an extraordinary city. The echoes of life buzz around me, but inside, I was crumbling. I watched my parents argue in the kitchen, their voices slicing through the air like knives. That tension, always there, it made me tighten my chest. I wanted to fix our family. I wanted to bring back the laughter. But what could I do? My friends tried to cheer me up. Julia's wild laughter rang out like music. "Let's go party," she yelled, her eyes sparkling. But inside, I felt lost. All my hopes tethered to a thread that seemed so fragile. I wanted to tell her, to let her in on my pain. But as I stood there, pretending to laugh, all I could feel was my heart sinking. Every beat felt heavier. Then it happened. The moment that would change everything. It was late that night, when shadows wrapped around the streets like secrets. I sat alone in my dimly lit room, scrolling through my phone. The screen glowed, illuminating my trembling hands. I pressed the button, and the world around me dimmed. A chill ran down my spine. I hadn't known what that simple mistake would unleash. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and my phone buzzed violently. I dropped it, heart pounding in my ears. My breath hitched. A figure appeared in the window, its silhouette unclear in the darkness. Panic surged through me. I backed away, the smell of fear thickening the air. What have I done? A rush of color exploded in my mind. I could never have imagined that pressing that button would lead to this. Just Hono, what had I awakened? And then the door creaked open slowly. I held my breath, eyes wide, paralyzed with fear. In that silence, I knew my life would never be the same again. Who was standing there? What did they want? My heart thundered with uncertainty. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The door swung open, and in the faint light filtering through the window, I could barely make out the figure. It was cloaked in shadows, its features obscured. My heart thudded violently, each beat a reminder of the fear that gripped me. "Who are you?" I croaked, my voice barely above a whisper, threading its way through the tension in the air. The figure hesitated, then stepped forward, revealing a face marred by time and weariness. The ISO, those haunting eyes seemed to hold the weight of worlds lost. "I'm here because of you," the stranger said, their voice as cracked as the air around us. "You activated something that shouldn't have been disturbed. What do you mean?" My confusion mingled with despair. I had only pressed a button, a mistake driven by unfulfilled curiosity and the aching void inside me. I didn't mean to. Intentions don't matter now. The piercing gaze bore into me, and I felt an unsettling warmth seep through the cracks of my heart. "You have awakened forces that can either mend what is broken or destroy it all, including you." With every word, my mind spiraled deeper into chaos. My family's troubles, my fear for their happiness, and now the simple mistake had summoned something beyond my understanding. Abandoning hope felt tempting, yet I could not let go entirely. What if there was a chance, however slight, to fix everything? I took a step back, breathing deeply to steady my racing heart. What do I have to do? I knew I was in over my head, but something in me stirred, igniting a flicker of resolve. The figure pointed toward the window, where the last remnants of daylight drifted away, leaving only shadows behind. You must make a choice. The path you take will alter everything you hold dear. But know this, each choice comes with a price. Just as my heart began to quicken with the adrenaline of possibility, the room filled with a blinding light that startled even the shadows. I shielded my eyes, bewilderment wrapping around me like a second skin. The light faded, leaving not just echoes of warmth, but whispers of familiar laughter. It was Julia, her comedic flair radiating through the air, as if teasing me from beyond the barrier of reality. "Hey, Sophie! Where are you?" Her voice cut through the haze, overriding the half-reality that surrounded me. "Come on, we were supposed to hit that new club tonight. Don't leave me hanging." A longing tugged at me, threads of friendship and happiness woven into the very fabric of my Lithian existence, so dear to my heart that I'd do anything to preserve it. "I can't go." "Not right now," I called out, a choking sorrow pooling in my throat. "Why not?" She persisted, the edge of concern dancing in her voice. "You've been distant lately, and I want to know what's up with you. You know I'm here for you, right?" Tears prickled my eyes, the genuine warmth of her friendship crashing against the coldness of my reality. "I made a mistake, Julia. A really big one. I don't know how to fix it." But as I spoke those words, the shadows in the room deepened, twisting and pulsating with an energy all too familiar. I turned to look back at the figure, who stood silently, watching our exchange with an expression that flickered between understanding and something sharper. A heavy silence hung in the air, and just when I thought the moment couldn't get any more intense, everything turned. The lights flickered once more, and then, like a dam breaking, an overwhelming wave of emotion crashed over me. I pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to ground myself, to separate dreams from reality. Suddenly, a voice broke through, deep and melodic. "Sophie," it called. "You have to choose. But no, it will not be easy, and not everyone can be saved." A chill settled on my spine. Was that message meant for me, or was it an echo from a world I had disturbed? Conflicted and fighting tears, I felt the burden of my choices pressing down, teetering between losing everything I loved and somehow finding a way to pull my family back together. I turned back towards the unknown figure, desperate for answers, but also aware that what I truly needed was courage. "I'll do it. I'll make the choice," I declared, my voice trembling but resolute. And then, as if sealing my intent, the figure stepped forward, their eyes softening momentarily. "Remember, everything comes with a cost." Before I could process this, the world around me fractured, bursting into colors and shadows, pulling me away from my room, my friend, and the fragile closeness of my family, plunging me into a darkness where vibrant hope and dread intertwined. As the light shone brighter, I could almost hear Julia calling for me, her laughter now fading into a haunting echo. In that moment of separation, forging the unthinkable, I closed my eyes, surrendering to whatever lay ahead, knowing the choice I made would ripple across not just my life, but the lives of those I cherished most. And when I laid my head back, the darkness enveloped me, and I couldn't shake the heaviness of one horrifying thought: what if I was too late? When I opened my eyes again, the chaos that had consumed me vanished, replaced by an eerie stillness. A sky devoid of stars stretched above, shrouded in an unsettling twilight that mirrored the turmoil inside me. My heart raced as the realization met his was not my world. The ground beneath my feet felt foreign, coated in a thick mist that clung to my ankles like secrets waiting to be uncovered. "Welcome to the threshold," a voice boomed from the shadows, deep and echoing, as if the very earth spoke. I turned, instincts telling me to brace against whatever approached. A figure materialized, tall and broad, cloaked in darkness that seemed to absorb the light around it, a stark contrast to the compassionate presence I had just encountered. "Who are you?" I demanded, the tremor in my voice betraying my apprehension. I am the keeper of choices, the guardian of the paths you must traverse. The voice was commanding yet somehow soothing, a strange blend that soothed the raw edges of my fear. You have awakened forces that will guide you, but relinquishing control is the first lesson. Guides? I echoed, skepticism lacing my tone. I don't need guidance. I need to fix what I've broken. The keeper moved closer, unfurling its cloak to reveal swirling fragments of light, miniature glimpses of alternate realities. Each flicker pulsed with emotion, joy, despair, hope, heartbreak. What you see is the consequence of your choice. Every flicker embodies a thread in the tapestry of your life. I squinted, trying to comprehend the weight of this revelation. What does this mean? How do I fix it? Your choice led you here, and only you can mend what has been torn. The keeper's expression morphed into something fathomless. But tread carefully, some choices will unearth deeper fissures than others. As dread coursed through me, I felt trapped within this unfathomable labyrinth of consequence, my mind racing through the fractures within my family, the discontent sown among them. What if they don't even remember how it was, how good it could be? I murmured, almost to myself. The keeper stepped back, allowing me to gaze deeper into the swirling remnants. They remember, yet perception is a dangerous veneer. You must pull on the threads that bind them, only then can truth unveil itself. But know that every action must come with a sacrifice. Despite the gravity of the moment, a flicker from the shadows of memories caught my attention. I turned sharply, recognizing the shared laughter of my family, a soft illumination of moments I had deemed lost. The reminiscences weaved together like a melody that lingered in the background, echoing in the chambers of my heart. Please, I spoke urgently, desperate for clarification. What must I do? The keeper regarded me thoughtfully, the air thickening around us. You will confront each lie, each hidden wound. It will require a truth long buried, perhaps even greater than you anticipate. But it could fracture them further. I protested, fear gnawing at my resolve. Or it could bind them closer than before. The keeper returned, its gaze steady and resolute. Every path leads you to a choice, and each choice presents the potential for healing. With a deep breath, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on my shoulders, I swallowed my fear. Okay, I finally uttered. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. For them, for all of us. With a nod, the keeper extended a hand, and within it formed a shimmering orb, a small, pulsating light that seemed to respond to my very heartbeat. This will guide you to the first thread you need to pull. Trust in your heart, for it will lead you home. And as I took the orb in my hands, warmth radiated through me, a beacon of hope glowing amidst the encroaching shadows. I closed my eyes, picturing my family, their smiles, their laughter, their love. It had to be enough to see me through whatever challenges awaited. In an instant, I was thrust into a whirlwind of voices, the soft whispers of my loved ones swirling around me like a gentle storm. But just as quickly, the warmth faded, and the cacophony ceased, forcing me into stark solitude. I opened my eyes to a familiar, roomy childhood home. It had not changed, yet everything felt agonizingly different. The photographs still hung on the walls, capturing moments frozen in time. But the air carried an unmistakable heaviness, a tension that whispered of unspoken truths. Cautiously, I walked toward the living room, my heart pounding with trepidation. Each step brought me closer to the ghosts of our past, and the shadows of our disconnect. As I entered, I found my family gathered around the TV, faces turned toward the flickering screen, laughter and light hardly reaching their eyes. And standing at the threshold of that sacred space, I sensed it, a chasm of silence, filled with too many things left unsaid. My breath hitched as I caught the eye of my mother, her smile faltering upon meeting my gaze. It was then that the chilling truth settled in the pit of my stomach, a truth that threatened to shatter everything I held dear. I opened my mouth to speak, to bridge the growing divide. But what came out instead was a choked whisper that echoed through the thick ambience like a bitter revelation. "I'm back, but I think I'm too late." The atmosphere felt suffocating, heavy with unacknowledged sorrows and the weight of expectations. My feet felt like lead as I stood there, paralyzed by uncertainty. The warm light of the room, once a comforting embrace in my childhood, now cast deep shadows across the faces of my family. My mother's eyes widened, and a flicker of recognition sparked through her disbelief. "What do you mean, you're back?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The question hung in the air, heavy with the burden of absence and misunderstanding. My throat tightened as memories of arguments, misunderstandings, and silence rushed back. How a simple lie had spiraled into a fracture so deep we could barely find our way back. "I came to fix things," I managed to say, feeling the terror of exposure tighten around me. "But I'm afraid I've lost the chance." Tension rippled through the room, words unuttered lingering like the fading notes of a broken song. My brother turned his gaze from the screen, confusion dancing in the depths of his dark eyes. "Why now? After everything?" The hurt embedded in his question cut through me like a blade, leaving me raw. "I want to explain," I began, desperately searching for the right words. Vague memories of our time together twisted in the corners of my mind. Laughter echoing during family game nights, crowded kitchen mornings filled with chatter, and quiet evenings spent together. But those memories felt distant now, overshadowed by everything we had lost. My father shifted in his seat, his jaw tightening as he avoided my gaze, his silence loud and accusatory. "You could have come back before," he muttered, bitterness seeping through the slits in his facade. "I know," I whispered, feeling the sting of regret wash over me. "But I didn't know how. I was scared." My voice trailed off, the admission drawing a palpable silence. It hurt to expose my insecurities, but I needed them to understand not only my fear, but the depth of my yearning to make things right. "You don't know what we've been through," my mother said, her voice wavering. Fresh tears sparkled in her eyes, glowing like shards of glass reflecting the bright light of the TV, the flickering image now lost in a haze of disinterest. "We've adjusted to your absence, learned to navigate the silence." The reality of her words struck hard. I had left a void, and in that void, they had built walls. They had crafted lives without me, moving on as if my departure had carved an irreversible split between us. A desperation clawed at my insides, making me dizzy with a chaotic longing to rewind time, to mend what had been so easily shattered. "I don't want that," I blurted, tears pricking my eyes. "I want us back. I want to try." My pleas merged with the gentle hum of the TV, each word a prayer sent into the fabric of the room, woven with hope and fear. "I don't know if we can," my brother said, the edge of his tone slicing deeper than the others. "You chose to leave. Now we have to choose how to carry on without you." Though the sting of his words pierced me, an unexpected warmth flickered deep within. I could feel it, vestiges of love, a tangled web formed over years of shared experiences. "But we have to try. I'm here now, give me the chance please." As if on cue, my mother broke down, tears flowing freely now. "Do you really think it's that easy?" she sobbed, frustration etched in the lines of her face. "You can't just walk back in and expect everything to be okay." I flinched, the weight of her words leaving me staggering beneath the reality of their truth. I had waltzed back into their lives, assuming love would bridge the chasm created by neglect and misunderstanding. "I know I can't fix it overnight, but I'm willing to fight for us." "Fight for what?" My father's voice cut in, sharp and jagged, filled with years of pent-up pain. "For a family that's already fallen apart? How do you expect us to believe you'll stay?" I stepped forward, heart pounding, feeling the warmth of the orb pressed against my chest. The weight of my family's history pressed against me, a palpable force demanding acknowledgement. "Because I've seen what happens when family breaks. I don't want to lose any of you. You're all I have left." In that moment of raw honesty, a small flicker of hope ignited. My brother glanced at my father, uncertainty playing across his features. I exposed my vulnerabilities, a gaping wound laid bare in the light of their scrutiny, and silently begged for them to understand. The TV flickered on, the images blurring as if the universe itself moved to cast shadows away. I saw glimpses of the laughter we had shared, the moments when love had defeated silence, small victories that fought back the bitterness of loss. It reminded me that love could still linger if we allowed it, not just as remnants of what we had, but as pathways we could rebuild together. Just I swallowed hard, summoning every ounce of courage within me. Just give me a chance. Let me show you I'm willing to face the harsh truths, to confront this hurt. Let me prove that I want to be a part of this again. For an agonizing moment, all fell silent. My heart promised renewed devotion, while my soul quietly trembled, awaiting their decision. Nothing felt certain, shadows flickering overhead and silence wrapping around us like a heavy mantle, punctuated only by the sound of our breaths. Please, I whispered, tears flowing down my cheeks, hoping for their kindness to shine through the darkness. And then, to my disbelief, the shadows around us began to shift, coalescing into a figure, a looming specter that seemed to draw strength from the tension exuding from my family. Make your choice, and remember the cost, it murmured, threading its way through the fading light, poised to upend everything once again. Panic surged inside me. Was this the moment to confront the lies that tangled us? Would I have the strength to face whatever truth lay beneath the layers of hurt? The unsettling realization dawned. I stood on the brink of a life-altering decision, and there was no turning back. The room felt impossibly small, the air thick with barriers I knowingly erected, while the specter of distant choices loomed ever closer. I could sense the tremors beneath the surface of my family's emotions, a well of hurt mingling with fragile hope, as I braced myself for the rippling consequences of my past transgressions. The TV flickered again, the images morphing into shadowy figures dancing against their screens. Each flicker seemed to syncopate with my heartbeat, a rhythm pulsing beneath this new confrontation. "Who are you?" I managed, my voice barely breaking the oppressive weight of unspoken truths suffocating us. The figure, once vague and hazy, refined itself, revealing hints of familiarity. It was an echo of my past, a ghost clad in the anguish of my choices, a younger version of myself, fragile yet defiant. I staggered back as recognition hit. It was me, but not the version I had hoped to become. This was the version that chose to flee instead of fight, that preferred to bury regret rather than face it head. On. Do you think it's too late? The specter asked, its voice woven with a haunting timbre that matched the uncertainty in my chest. Will you ever truly be welcomed back? Shut up, I shouted, the volume erupting from me like a dam bursting, sending echoes reverberating against the walls. I don't need your judgment. I know what I did. I know how I hurt them. My family recoiled slightly, their eyes wide. Yet, I could not falter. This was my truth to confront. My brother's face twisted with a mixture of confusion and dread. What's happening? He asked, eyes flickering between me and the shimmering figure. Are you losing it? No, I cried, desperation spilling over. This is a part of Metas, is what I need to confront. I can't let it rule my life anymore. As the words poured from me, I felt a strange warmth pooling in my chest. It was both a beacon and a burden, a revelation that my past would fight, but not defeat me if I chose the struggle to surpass it. Confrontation has its price, the specter replied, raising a hand slowly, the motion almost tender. You may reclaim your path, but you'll also awaken every wound you've sown. Are you prepared to face not just them, but yourself? The collective breath in the room held tightly, and I could see my parents bristling at the raw emotion laid bare. But also there were flickers in their eyes of something marine understanding, albeit tentative. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in their presence, digging deeper into the well of courage I felt beginning to stir within me. I want it, I stated firmly, cutting through the pulse of fear with a resolve that had been invisible even to me until this moment. I want to face it all, every single part of it, if it means having a chance to weave us back together. I've lost so much. I've left them to wade through pain without support that needs fixing. Then prepare yourself, the specter replied, its face softening for the briefest instant. Rebuilding means retracing every wound, every misstep, and feeling the weight of each moment. It's your choice, and it's never easy. My mother reached for my father's hand, their fingers intertwining as a signal of unity amidst the uncertainty. What if you find that we're too far gone? She asked softly, her voice trembling on the edge of hope and despair. What if you can't bring us back? The anguish in her tone was a knife driven deep into my heart, but it only fueled my determination further. Then he'll learn to carry that, I said, willing my voice to remain steady. Love isn't linear. It might not look the way we expect, but I have to believe it's still there, waiting for a chance to shine through. As I spoke, the shadows pulsed around us, sculpting the room into something tethered between realms, a battlefield of emotions set to erupt. The specter nodded, its presence becoming less menacing, more a part of this unfolding moment. Very well, then. Embrace the trials ahead, and may the light of what once was guide you as you piece together what can be. And just like that, in the heart of chaos, I felt a tether of connection anchoring us together. The past still simmered beneath the surface, deep scars begging acknowledgement, but for the first time in what felt like eons, I sensed the stirrings of something beautiful. Then suddenly, the air shifted. A ripple of movement crept in from the edges of my perception, drawing my gaze to the reflection in the dark glass of the TV. Beyond the silhouettes of my family, a shrouded figure appeared, one that shadowed my presence but seemed utterly alien. Anxiety washed over me. What is that? My voice trembled as I pointed, heart racing, and the specter turned, almost as if acknowledging an old foe lying in wait. What have I awakened? The air thickened with tension, and I could feel each member of my family drawing closer, their breaths heavy with trepidation as shadows gathered in the periphery, pretending to the trials I had committed to endure. The screen flickered ominously, casting chaotic shapes around us while the figures and tensions danced just out of comprehension. Only the future will reveal, the specter murmured, as the world around us evolved into the edges of chaos, and I found myself teetering on the brink of a journey where sorrow met determination, bound together in an enigmatic embrace. The shadows coalesced into a more defined shape, a silhouette that loomed larger as the fear enshrouding us thickened. My heart raced in my chest, each beat reverberating in sync with my family's worrying glances. The tension could be sliced with a knife, the weight of unresolved pasts heavy in the air. Stay close, I whispered, as if proximity could weave a protective cocoon around us. My mother stepped forward, courage blossoming in her expression despite the echoes of hurt still bright in her eyes. Whatever's coming, we'll face it together. The determination in her voice echoed, creating a swell of warmth amongst us, an unspoken promise forged through adversity. The dark figure before us shifted slightly, edges fraying like a mirage, but it advanced unimpeded. Each movement mirrored the chaos within, intertwining fear with an undeniable thread of hope. What do you want? I shouted into the gloom, the question bursting from me as desperation bleached my reason. The entity halted, and the room crackled with unspoken energy. I am the manifestation of choices unmade, the specter of wounds never addressed, it replied, its voice a haunting whisper woven through time. I represent every moment you evaded, every truth you obscured. You wanted to bury what you thought could harm you, but your heart seeks resolution, doesn't it? I shifted uneasily, the intensity of its gaze spilling into my soul, forcing me to confront the fractured pieces I had avoided for so long. Resolution or reconciliation? I replied, barely recognizing my own voice, so heavy with longing and regret. Both can be woven together, yet one often leads to pain before bloom. Are you willing to bear the scars that may emerge? The figure's tendrils of darkness reached out, almost tentatively, as if longing for a connection that had been absent for too long. Seeing its gesture, I couldn't help but turn to my family. "Do you all trust me? Will you stand with me no matter what this presence represents?" The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of possibilities. My brother, who had been silent through this unfolding nightmare, stepped forward, the hint of a tremor like a ghost of his former self almost lost in the shadows. "I just want to understand why you ran away," he murmured, his voice cracking under the weight of years. "Where were you when we needed you?" His words struck me, a tight band of sorrow squeezing my chest, but I welcomed them. Even in their painful charge, they were an invitation to heal. "I was afraid," I admitted, wrestling with the shame that poured forth. "Afraid that I wouldn't be able to help, and that my own failings would only add to your struggles." Despair lanced my mother's features, yet in that same breath, she splayed her hands open in a gesture of acceptance. "You were never alone in this." Her voice trembled, and I could see her eyes glistening with buried tears. "We needed you to stay, not disappear into the night. We needed you to fight alongside us. You were lost to us," my father echoed gently, timeless hurt entangled within his words. "I know," I replied, throat tightening. "I hate the choices I made. But instead of reconciliation, I ran. Instead of facing it, I sought comfort in distance, when what I needed was to lean into you all." The figure before us seemed to pulsate, its essence shifting in synchronicity with the feelings erupting in the room. "To progress, truth must become your ally. Your family seeks a cocoon of resilience, but it begins from honesty with each other and within yourself. Embrace this moment, where sorrow and hope amalgamate, and let courage take root." I locked eyes with my family, feeling the hesitant warmth building in their collective embrace. This was our chance not just for me, but for all of us. Slowly, I extended my hand toward the dark figure, feeling the magnetic draw of its essence. "I can't promise to fix everything, but I can promise to face the depths of my regrets. Will you help guide me through this?" Before the figure could respond, an unexpected crumpling sound echoed behind me. My brother gasped, stepping back as my mother gripped my father tighter, fear etched across her face. I turned, feeling the disorienting jolt of panic wave through us. The floorboards creaked ominously, and suddenly, an old family photo dust laden, frayed at the edge stumbled across the surface, landing in the center of the room with a slap that felt like thunder. The image was vivid against the gloomy backdrop, capturing a moment of our shared laughter, faces unhindered by time, untouched by loss. But beneath that moment lay secrets, half-truths waiting to be unearthed. And then, as if sensing the rising tension, the dark figure gestured toward the photo, its voice heavy with foreboding. "There lies the key to your past, the truth you must revisit. The pain buried within this image holds answers, but be wary. Not all discoveries bring peace." A chill crawled up my spine as I approached the photo, the edges tinged with familiarity and heartbreak. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice wavering, sensing a burgeoning dread. "Within every smile, every moment captured, is a facet of your choices. Each frame tells a story, a shard of truth, and you must unravel what you concealed if you are to reclaim your path." It warned. I picked up the photograph, shivering at its weight. Another moment of clarity hovered on the brink, just out of reach, tangled up in love and sorrow. And as my gaze wandered over the images of our united past, I felt the shadows around us whispering, beckoning me deeper into the labyrinth of memories where my most feared revelations lay dormant. "Together, we will take this step," I declared, glancing back at my family, determination igniting in the depths of our shared bond. "This may rip us apart or bring us back, but it's a journey we need to undertake." As I took a breath and turned back to the figure, I realized a new challenge approached, one that cut deeper than I anticipated, echoing the pain of not just my past, but the unresolved longings within my family itself. With every ounce of courage, I faced the photo, and as my heart thundered, I sensed another revelation paddling in its thrumming depths, waiting to surface. A thought both exhilarating and terrifying that could change everything. The shadows felt alive, shifting restlessly as if they too waited for the truth to unfurl. Then, in a breathless heartbeat, the flicker of shadows converged, and the whispers grew louder, hints of familiarity crashing through the tension like a wave. I could barely grasp the implications of what was unraveling, but I knew that whatever came next, it would be anything but simple. The unfolding journey had only begun. I had awakened a specter, and with it a new chapter yet uncertain lay ahead. The photograph trembled in my hands, the laughter imprinted on its surface seeming to taunt me with its vibrance against the creeping shadows. I took a step back, my heart racing as memories flooded me like a tide, each wave pulling me further into the depths of a past I had so fervently tried to escape. Should we really do this? My brother's voice sliced through the heaviness, uncertainty coloring his words. I could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes, a mirror of my own trepidation. What if we don't like what we find? This might be our only chance, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. If anything, we owe it to ourselves to face this together. With a synchronized inhale, I felt my family draw closer, their presence like a reassuring anchor amidst a storm. The figure remained at the periphery of our gathering, silent but attentive, its dark form pulsing with anticipation. I could almost hear its whispering thoughts urging us forward. "Let's do it," my mother said, her voice low but resolute. She reached out, placing her hand over mine, and in that moment, a surge of warmth radiated through me, mingling with my fear. I squeezed her hand tightly, an unspoken affirmation that neither of us would be facing this alone. As we examined the photograph, I noticed my father's eyes glistening with unshed tears, a silent acknowledgment of the weight carried by our family. "That day was perfect," he murmured, almost to himself, yet the words broke the silence like glass shattering underfoot. "We were whole then." I miss that. I could feel the memories teetering on the edge of anguish and joy, but as the figures in the photograph smiled back at us, I could almost hear the laughter echo, reminding us of what we had lost. Why did we stop being like that? My brother's question, heavy with longing, hung in the air, a thread drawn taut between us. Because sometimes living in the past feels much simpler than facing the realities of how we've changed, I confessed, my voice cracking under the weight of truth. I thought if I looked back, it would drown me. I never realized it would keep me from finding a way back to us. "I just want to know why you felt you couldn't stay," my brother repeated, turning slightly as hesitation brushed against the sympathy he wore so openly. "Was it because of me? Did I do something wrong?" His words sliced through my heart, a raw edge of vulnerability exposed. "No, it was never your fault," I urged, desperate to close the gap between us. "I thought I was sparing you pain, but instead, I isolated myself, pushing you all away. I cannot apologize enough for disappearing." A silence enveloped us, heavy with the gravity of truths laid bare. It was palpable, this delicate unveiling, a tapestry of shared hurts and whispers of healing woven throughout our history. I could sense the dark figure leaning in, its presence bearing witness to the intimacy of our moment. "Time can warp perception," it spoke, its voice a gentle caress. "Revisit that day, but understand the shadows that linger, the choices that led you astray." The photo began to shimmer, a soft glow illuminating the edges, as if eager to reveal its secrets. I felt my breath quicken, the air thick with impending revelations. Was it merely nostalgia that twisted my heart, or was there something profound to be uncovered? An image began to shift within the confines of the photo. I squinted closer, watching with growing intensity, as a new scene unfurled just beyond the laughter, the ripples of my father's smile fading, my mother's brightness faltering, and my own joy intertwining with subtle gestures of concern that hid deep-rooted disquiet. "Look!" I exclaimed, my voice barely above a whisper. The scenery transformed into a panorama of discontent, words unspoken, gestures misinterpreted, blame that hung in the air like an electric charge. I felt the tension tighten within me, the past reasserting itself with stern resolve, drawing us all into its grasp. "That's the day I found you trying to leave," my mother admitted, the confession bursting forth like a dam. "I thought you were running away from your troubles, but maybe you were running from us." A fresh wave of guilt crashed over me, but amidst it thrummed the pulse of hope, the recognition that we might now have the chance to unearth these discrepancies together, to rescue ourselves from the despair that bound us. "And oh, more hiding, right?" my brother interjected, his youthful spirit flickering like a candle's flame unfurling against the dark. "Well, face it, whatever it is that tore us apart. I want to know the truth, even if it hurts." I nodded, feeling an electric current flowing through our hands, binding us with unbreakable threads. "Together, we face this. We won't run anymore." But as the shadows writhed, gathering the remnants of our moments, another chilling crack echoed in the room, causing the photo to tremble violently before us. The glass splintered, as if reaching for the outside world, drawing upon the whispered secrets we had buried deep. That's when I saw another figure emerging from the shadows, one whose gaze sent shivers down my spine. "Who are you?" I stammered, my voice barely coalescing as the figure stepped forward. The familiar face emerged, hauntingly resembling the apparition of my childhood, one I had long since buried beneath layers of regret. It was me, an ethereal version of my past self, eyes wide with innocence, but shadowed by the weight of choices unmade. "Are you ready to remember?" it asked, voice echoing with the tremors of time, extending a hand. The air felt electric with a sense of fate, leaving me teetering at the precipice of decision. In that moment, I realized that this was our reckoning. Did I dare plunge into these painful memories? The very thought of facing the implications gave rise to tangled anxiety, but a flicker of hope beckoned me closer. I looked back at my family, and the warmth of their hands reinforced my resolve. "Yes," I breathed, knowing I had to step forward to embrace my truth, for the only escape lay in confronting the past head-on. "Am ready to remember." With that declaration, I grasped the hand of my past self, and the shadows enveloped me, spiraling downward into a dawning abyss that promised clarity, but at what cost? As I felt the ground beneath me dissolve into darkness, I realized there was no turning back. The journey into the forgotten truths was just beginning, and I could only pray they would lead us toward the light. The darkness swallowed me whole, a tempest of emotions swirling as I tightened my grip on the hand of my past self. Every heartbeat thudded in my ears, propelling me deeper into the shadows, suffocating yet exhilarating. A kaleidoscope of memories began to unravel around us, moments that felt lost, but suddenly surged forward with vivid color, unraveling the threads that tied me to my family. I could feel them there, standing at the precipice of my choices, urging me on. "Remember," my past self whispered, the echo tinged with both fear and determination. "You chose to run, but remember why." Flashes of memory sparked in the void. Family dinners turned into silence, laughter that clung to the walls like cobwebs, and fights shrouded in misunderstandings. I was a child then, innocent and pure, but burdened with the weight of unvoiced pain. My family had grown tense, distant, a chasm forming amidst moments that once brought us joy. "Please show me," I urged, my voice catching in my throat as the images brightened, revealing the critical moments I had tried to suppress. I was standing in the living room, a forgotten snack melting on the table. I could see my father pacing, my mother's hands wringing together. It was the smallest teen-odd disagreement over a household chore, but like drops causing ripples on a pond, it escalated beyond comprehension. "Dinner is never on time anymore." My father's voice thundered, and my heart lurched as I recognized the undertones of weariness mixing with anger. "What happened to teamwork? He's just a kid." My mother spat back, her eyes flashing with frustration before sinking into hurt. "He shouldn't have to do everything." Terror stung my cheeks as the memories transformed into a heavy fog, almost suffocating. I had felt so helpless then, witnessing the escalation, caught between two worlds, a child longing for safety, but feeling like an intruder in the drama of adult life. "Stop!" I cried, my voice raw as I fought to escape the weight of shame and responsibility. "I didn't mean to cause this. I wanted to run away because I didn't know how to fix it. None of this is your fault," my past self replied, gently brushing a tear from my cheek and bringing clarity amidst the chaos. "But you can face it now. You don't need to hide anymore. Share your truth." With those words, I felt the shadows shift, rearranging the moment, revealing my brother's small frame. I could see his frustration and innocent plea for connection buried beneath layers of misunderstanding. "Why doesn't anyone talk to me?" he had asked that day, his voice small and uneasy. "I just want us to be a family." The innocence of his yearning cut through me, igniting a storm of guilt. My heart wrenched as I realized how deeply I had contributed to the silences that only widened over time. Had I truly believed leaving would spare him from discomfort? The thought settled like a heavy stone. Every action mattered then, and they matter now, my past self said softly. "Your family needs you to fight for them, and for yourself." Suddenly, a thread of warmth ignited in the crushing darkness. The illuminating figure of my brother glimmered at the edge of my memory, a glint of kindness shining through the shadows. The instincts born from my childhood clung to me, persistence urging me to listen. I felt pulled toward him, back to that moment where hurt lingered, and words died unuttered. "Don't go," I whispered to his memory, stumbling into the folds of yesterday, desperately wishing to reach him before he felt the same hopelessness I had chased away with my departure. "Don't let me leave you behind." I felt my heart race as I plunged deeper, through spiraling memories, yearning to breach the space between us now, as if an invisible barrier barred my essence from colliding with his innocent longing. As I reached out, a gentle hand brushed my shoulder, pulling me back into reality. The darkness retreated momentarily, revealing the figure that had haunted me, brother, standing beside me, glaring at the scene before us with old hurt glistening in his expressive eyes. "What do you want from us?" he whispered. Vulnerable, and I felt a dagger of regret stab at my core. My decisions had strung him along a path of uncertainty, and I had only just realized the depths of his pain. "If only I had stayed," I cried out, the chorus of my fears flooding the space as I pulled away from my past self into this fragile moment. "If only I had held on instead of hiding. Maybe it isn't too late." His voice was barely audible, but it struck a chord deep within me, resonating with hope. But before I could answer, the shadowed figure of my past flared brightly, warping under the weight of unprocessed fears, illuminating the fissures in time. I thought I saw a flicker of understanding in my brother's gaze, but the tumultuous storm rallied once more. "Remember, your fears infected every word, not just in the past but now," the shadow warned, thrumming through the air like a taut wire. "Do you dare confront that which you wish to flee? I want to face it," I insisted, the weight of the words igniting embers of courage within me. And yet, as I drew a breath, a tremor echoed through my heart, a new realization seeping into my mind like a creeping fog. It wasn't just the past laid bare before us. It was our present that hung precariously in the balance. My family needed me not only to confront the past, but also to forge a path forward we could walk together, the uncharted reality of healing. Yet the shadows shifted again, threatening to engulf us anew. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath us, pulling my attention back to the present realities that loomed large. An icy voice emerged through the chaos, echoing like a dirge across dimensions. "You can't change what is already set in motion." It is the damned ultimate revelation, threatening to sever the fragile thread binding us. My heart raced with dread, and my eyes widened as the figure began to dissolve. "Wait!" I shouted, clutching my brother's hand desperately. "We're not finished. We need to uncover the truth." But before he could respond, the shadows snapped back, pulling me deeper and deeper into the swirling unknown, uncertainty tightening its hold. As the fabric of our connection wavered, panic clawed at my insides. I braced myself against the rich turmoil of memories, knowing that the next moment could change everything. The last grasp of my brother's hand dissipated into nothingness as the shadows pulled me under the next whisper from the darkness, a chilling reminder. What if the truth is more than you're prepared to bear? In that moment of realization, I felt the thread that connected us unraveling, fear seeping in, forcing me to confront something far greater than I had imagined. As the shadows swallowed me whole, panic tightened its grip around my chest. The specter of my past twisted and whirled in an eerie dance, weaving its way through memories that threatened to crush me under the weight of unspoken words. I could almost hear my brother's voice echoing beneath the din, urging me not to lose hope, but in the grip of darkness, he felt miles away a flicker of light doused beneath an ocean of despair. I braced myself against the undulating waves of uncertainty. Would I ever reach him again? Was it even possible to break free? Suddenly, the sensation shifted, a weight pressing on me lightened for a moment, revealing a doorway through which soft golden light shone. Driven by instinct, I lunged toward the glimmer, propelled by a desire I had neglected for far too long. The yearning for connection, for understanding, for familial love. The moment I stepped through the luminous threshold, it felt as if I had burst into a sunlit meadow alive with color. But the beauty was deceptive. The landscape was strikingly still, as if suspended into me a snapshot of happiness marred by an underlying tension. I turned my gaze, and a scene unfolded. There, on the edge of the garden, was a gathered family sharing laughter. My parents were seated under a sprawling oak tree, my father animatedly retelling an old joke while my mother beamed, her laughter warm and inviting. But the moment was brittle, like a cobweb glistening with dew, and I felt keenly the sense of betrayal tugging at my heart. Beneath the easy laughter, the unaddressed tension simmered, like a pot left to boil over, waiting for that misstep that would send everything crashing down. Tears filled my eyes as I recalled so many moments where I felt invisible, where my silence became my prison. It felt unfair. Why was I presented with these fragments of joy when their reality was laced with pain? Then consciousness broke through the illusion, and I remembered. I wasn't just an observer. I was part of this family. The time had come to step forward, to confront the choices I had made that had cast such shadows over us. With a sudden rush of clarity, I called out, my voice trembling but resolute. Can't you see what you've left unsaid? Tension rippled through the air, and the scene fractured, distorting like a shattered mirror. My parents turned towards me, their eyes widening in surprise, confusion, and in something more raw fear. Where have you been? My father asked, his voice hoarse and cracked, reverberating with the pain of unanswered questions. I ran, I admitted, my pulse pounding in my ears. I thought leaving would make things better, that I would save you from the discomfort of our truths. But all I did was add to the silence. They exchanged glances, and I felt the fissures between us deepening as my mother struggled to contain her breath, her face pale. You don't understand, she pleaded, her voice laced with the weight of years lost. We held on to our pain, because we didn't want to burden you. I don't want to be burdened by your silence any longer, I said, the words tumbling out, unraveling everything I had been carrying alone. We all suffered in different ways, and it's okay to admit that. Please, let us talk. But just as the tension shifted one way, a gust of uncertainty whipped through, and I noticed my brother standing at the far edge of the meadow. His shoulders slumped, looking small amid the brilliance around us. The innocent glee of the other moments faded like an echo, and a wave of profound sorrow washed over me. Why can't I be included? He whispered, pain etched in his youthful face. You all pretend I don't exist. Did I do something wrong? No, no, I exclaimed, desperation clawing for purchase in my heart. You've never done anything wrong. I thought by running, I was protecting you. I was so scared of the hurt, I abandoned you in the midst of it. I never wanted you to feel like you were alone. His gaze, once vibrant, dimmed with sadness. You left me behind, and now everything feels broken. I just wanted things to go back to how they were. I stepped forward, feeling the weight of years and mistakes pressing down tight. I know. I thought distancing myself would save you from the mess we made, but all it did was create a larger void. The shadows skittered at the edges of my vision, like warning whispers urging me to return to the darker realms I had escaped. But I refused to back down. My brother needed me now more than ever. What if we can work together to heal this? What if we can find a way to reclaim our joy? In that moment, staunch determination surged inside me, but just as quickly, the ground beneath us trembled as if in protest. The delightful sunlight flickered, giving way to shadows creeping at the edges of this perfect memory. I felt a familiar icy breath, visceral and suffocating, brushing against my neck, causing the hairs to stand on end. I will not let you change what is already set in motion, the whisper echoed, resonating through the garden, threatening to sever our fragile connection as despair tightened its grip. And just as panic surged within me, I caught sight of my brother's eyes, his face sparkling like embers, daring me to challenge the darker inclinations haunting us. If only we could face this together, I imagined. If only he would see me. Please, I cried, peering into the shadows wrapping around him. And as I reached out to him, a revelation struck harder than the chilling whisper. The remnants of future pain lay not just in my past decisions, but swirled into the present, them healing as one. The shadows could finally disperse. Tell me, I begged the darkness, my heart racing with the weight of truth. What are you so afraid to reveal? But as the edges of the memory darkened, it reverberated with an ancient call that clamored for an answer buried deep, one steeped in regret, one that could change everything if unearthed. And as the curtain of light began to fall, I realized something staggering. It was not just my family's past that was in the balance. It was mine too. What if this truth tears us apart? My voice trembled as I stilled. The shadows clung tighter, threatening to erase all we had built. With those chilling words hanging heavily in the air, I knew the climax of our shared struggles was yet to come. The echoes of a simple mistake, born of innocence and frailty, loomed ever heavier. The decisions I would soon need to embrace hung precariously above us all. The darkness around me pulsed with a menacing energy, drawing deeper, the shadows cast by choices left unmade. Yet amidst the haze of uncertainty, a flicker of hope burned, bright an ember waiting for the wind to fan it into a roaring flame. I blinked against the shadows, determined to carve a path forward, not just for myself, but for my family, the ones I had inadvertently distanced in my quest to protect them from my shortcomings. Listen to me, I beseeched, every word strained with urgency. We can't heal without honesty. My fears me run these choices broke us. But we have the power to stitch the fabric of our family back together, thread by thread. I stared into their eyes, searching for a glimmer of acceptance amidst the swirling chaos. The silence felt oppressive, a collective intake of breath, as if every heartbeat echoed the weight of the truth I was preparing to unveil. Whatever you're afraid to say, we can face it together. The shadows shrank back, hovering cautiously as if judging our resolve, eager to consume, but also intrigued by the flickering strength emerging from our connection. And then the whispers from the darkness morphed into a figure, one cloaked in sorrow, reminiscent of my past self. Will you truly face what lies beneath? It echoed, voice dripping with uncertainty and dread. Will you confront not only your choices but the pain they spread? Am ready, I said, though doubt edged close, whispering monstrous tales of regret. But a burgeoning warmth surged through me, coaxing determination from the depths of despair. I must for my family. I must for us. I buried the truth and allowed it to fester for too long. It's time to drag every shadow into the light. With a breath filled with newfound courage, I stepped forward into the throbbing darkness, grasping the outstretched hands of my family. Their warmth enveloped me, a protective cocoon fortifying my heart against the suffocating fear that threatened to spiral me back into isolation. Let's face this together. As our hands intertwined, the shadows began to flicker, oscillating with an intensity that felt both foreboding and liberating. In that moment, I sensed the embodiment of our collective pine-off pressure within our hearts that held the weight of unspoken truths, misdeeds, and not just my own. Each of us carried scars molded from choices unchecked. The figure shuddered, edging closer, igniting a surge of energy that began to fracture the oppressive darkness that surrounded us. "You stand on the precipice of revelation," it declared, tone vibrating with raw energy. "Will you step forth and unveil the truth even when it wisps like smoke, threatening to unravel your very foundation? Only if it will heal us." I yelled, voice fierce, unwavering in my declaration. "I choose love over fear. I choose understanding over silence." The shadows quivered, a wave of anticipation rippling through the air, beckoning me to challenge the lingering ghosts of the decisions that shattered our once vibrant family. As we took our first steps together towards that luminous opening beyond the swirling darkness, I finally dared to confront the bitter truths buried within, and the impact of my choices writ small in every hesitation. "There was once joy," I voiced softly. "But when I saw the cracks, I fled instead of addressing them. I thought I would spare you pain. Me running only deepened your wounds as I tried to ease my own." Tears brimmed in my mother's eyes, a smattering of unacknowledged hurt flooding her countenance. "We never wanted you to run away," she admitted, her voice thick with emotion. "We watched you leave. We felt so helpless, and yes, we grew resentful. But more than anything, we ached for you to want to stay." Those words struck deep, rendering my heart hollow as the recognition that my actions had cast deeper shadows washed over me. I began to understand what I feared most was not the truth itself, but the realization that my decisions had perpetuated cycles of hurt. But no more. This time, I would let the light in. With newfound resolve, I turned to my brother. "I should have stood with you, not backed away," I confessed, the pain in my voice evident. "I thought my absence was a kindness, but instead, I left you to navigate the darkness alone. I'm sorry for every silent moment, for making you feel as if your presence was a burden." His expression shifted from sorrow to something lighter, the regret in his eyes giving way to tentative hope. "I don't want to keep feeling invisible," he whispered, teeth clenched but eyes glistening. "I want to be a part of our family again. Please let me in." And with those words, flickers of light coursed through the shadows, illuminating the emotional fractures struggling for resolution. The echoes from the figure hanging between us softened, morphing into warm tendrils that wrapped around our hands, all chords vibrating with connection. "Together, let's take that risk," I said, squeezing their hands tighter. "You deserve my honesty just as much as I crave it from you. It's time to weave our truths into one story, anchored in love and resilience." In that moment, we stood on the precipice of something profoundly beautiful. The shadows began to dissipate, warping into whispers of understanding rather than echoes of despair. Every ounce of my being surged with purpose as I felt our ties strengthening, the binding thread of honesty reaffirming our bonds. As the last remnants of the shadows retreated, a burst of light radiated around us, illuminating the space we had created together. There, in that brilliance, surrounded by the warmth of connection, I felt a sense of healing wash over me. Through every tear shed and every fear faced, we had chosen to embrace the truth regardless of how painful that would unite us instead of tearing us asunder. Each revelation spurred the light further, stitching our hearts back together in an unbreakable tapestry of love. And as I turned to fully gaze into my family's eyes, I felt the weight of what had occurred, not as a burden, but as the essence of a powerful rebirth. It was not just an awakening, it was forgiveness. The world around us brightened, cascading warmth that gripped my heart. I reached out to my family, drawing them into a soft embrace, realizing in this moment we were whole again, ready to reforge our connection anew. With shaky breaths, I finally uttered the words I had long yearned to say. "Am here, and am not going anywhere. I love you all, and I promise to face every fear that arises with you at my side." And in that moment, amidst the surging light, my family's shared laughter resonated, weaving through the air a melody of redemption, a symphony of hope intertwining our hearts. We all held onto each other, as we closed our eyes to the warmth of our togetherness. Within the binding embrace of love, shadows could not exist. I awoke to the stillness of the room, but this time, it felt different. The air felt lighter, filled with possibilities unfolding like petals yearning to bloom. And as I stepped into that unfolding dawn, one truth crystallized within my heart. Sometimes, a simple choice to face what we fear can release us from the shackles of our own making, transforming our lives into a canvas of unending light. I will never run again, I promised myself as I inhaled the warmth that enveloped me, securing this moment in my heart. For within the cycle of love and forgiveness, I discovered this was not just a beginning, but the most potent form of freedom. Knowing my past would always shape me, I allowed a smile to break through, cracking open my heart to the glimmering possibilities ahead. In that moment of emotional clarity, I spoke the final words, forever echoing in the corridors of my soul: "We will face everything together, and I choose us."